My uncle's hand slammed on the glass table so hard the cup shook. "You're irresponsible," he said, pointing straight at me. Everyone in the living room went silent. My chest burned. My face felt hot, while cousin stared like I was some broken thing. I opened my mouth to speak, but he cut me off again. "You have never finished anything in your life," Uncle Harold said. "You do not deserve trust." People nodded. Some looked away. It felt like the floor dropped under me. Then he lifted a brown envelope. "This is the new company registration," he said proudly, "and your name is nowhere close to it." My stomach twisted. The family attorney passed the papers around. I watched the pages move from hand to hand, while everyone whispered. When the last page reached me, my eyes froze on a line that mattered. Owner, Noah Carter. My name. Only my name. The room gasped. Uncle Harold snatched the paper from me and read it. His face changed from fire-red anger to sick fear. He looked at me like I had stolen something huge. I had no idea what was happening, but I knew everything had just changed. Nobody spoke for several seconds. The ticking wall clock felt louder than voices. My uncle's voice finally broke the silence. "This is a mistake," he said, shaking the paper. "He cannot be the owner." He turned toward the attorney. "Fix this right now." The attorney stayed calm and said the registration was already filed and approved. My heart raced. I felt hurt and confused at the same time. Aunt Denise folded her arms and stared at me like I had planned this. I hadn't. I had not signed anything. I had not paid for anything. Yet there it was, my name on the document everyone wanted. Harold leaned close to me. "You think this is funny," he whispered. "You are not ready for anything serious." Those words cut deeper than before. They reminded me of every time he told me I was nothing. But this time something inside me refused to break. I did not shout. I did not cry. I just looked back at him. He walked out of the room fast, already thinking about how to take it back. I knew that moment my life had entered a fight I did not choose, but I would not run anymore. After the meeting, he caught me outside near the porch. The evening air was cool, but my hands were sweating. Uncle Harold grabbed my shoulder hard. "Listen to me," he said quietly. "You will sign this company back to me tomorrow. You will not embarrass me." His voice sounded calm, but there was anger under like fire under ash. "I didn't do anything," I said. My voice shook, but I did not look away. He leaned closer. "You owe me respect," he said. "Everything you have comes from me." That was not true, but he believed it. He pulled out papers already printed for ownership transfer. "Sign them," he said. I pushed them back. "No," I said. It surprised even me. His eyes grew cold. "Then you will regret it." He walked away, leaving those words hanging in the air. I stood alone in the yard, hurt from the insult and shocked by the sudden danger wrapped inside my own family. I knew he would not stop. I also knew he was afraid. I just did not know why yet. I went home that night with my heart pounding and with a strange new feeling rising inside me. I refused to be weak again. When I got home, I spread the registration papers across my small desk. I read every line slowly, even though my head hurt. Something felt hidden there. Then I found it. A small folded letter was tucked between 2 pages. It had no name on it, only my initials written in careful handwriting. I opened it with shaking fingers. The letter said the company had been placed in my name to protect the family from a man who had already broken trust too many times. It said some promises had been broken years ago, and that truth would soon come out. The words felt heavy. It was clear someone planned this. It was not random. Someone wanted me to have control, so my uncle could not. For a moment I felt scared. Then another feeling grew. Someone believed in me enough to risk everything. I held the paper tight. The letter ended with, "Stand strong." I sat back in my chair and realized that the family meeting was only the beginning. Whatever my uncle had done in the past was coming back now. And for some reason, I was at the center of all of it. That night, I could not sleep. Memories poured into my head like a storm. I saw myself at 12 years old, showing Uncle Harold my school project. He said it was silly. I remember when I wanted to start a small online shop, and he laughed, saying I would quit like always. Every memory was the same pattern. I tried. He crushed. I spoke. He silenced. Over time, I started believing him. Maybe I really was irresponsible. Maybe I was a problem. But seeing my name on that document cracked the old lie. Somebody out there thought I could lead. The hurt from a meeting was still sharp. Being called irresponsible in front of everyone felt like a punch to the chest. But that pain started to turn into something steadier. I was tired of being treated like I was nothing. I whispered to myself in the dark, I will not just give this back. I wanted answers. I wanted truth. Not to hurt him, but to stop being hurt. That was the beginning of my revenge, not made of anger alone, but made of quiet strength. I did not yet know how strong it would need to be. The next morning, my phone rang from a blocked number. I thought it was my uncle again. I almost did not answer, but I did. A calm voice spoke. It was male, but not familiar. Noah, do not sign anything, the voice said. My heart jumped. Who are you? I asked. The voice continued. He is afraid because he knows why your name is there. Do not give up ownership. My room felt smaller while I listened. Why is my name there? I asked again. The line went quiet for a second. Then the voice said, because someone wanted to stop him from taking everything again. Before I could say anything more, the call ended. I stared at my screen, wishing the unknown caller would come back. Someone was watching this from the shadows. Someone knew more than I did. I sat on my bed, shaking. Fear and curiosity mixed together. I knew one thing now with certainty. This was not just family drama. This was bigger. And even though I felt scared, I also felt stronger than yesterday. I promised myself I would learn the full truth, no matter how uncomfortable it became. I went to see the family attorney, Mr. Collins, that afternoon. His office smelled like coffee and old books. He looked surprised when I walked in alone. I told him my uncle had demanded I sign the company over. He listened quietly, then opened his drawer. There were instructions left in case this happened, he said. He took out a sealed envelope with my full name written on it. My chest tightened again. I was told to give you this only if you were pressured, he added. That meant everyone expected my uncle to react this way. I held the envelope for a moment. My fingers felt heavy. I asked him if the registration could be undone. He shook his head. Not without your consent. For the first time, I understood the power in my hands. It scared me and steadied me at once. I walked out of the office with the envelope cold against my palm. Outside, cars passed and life seemed normal, but my world was anything but normal. I sat on a bench nearby and took a deep breath. I was about to open something that could change everything I thought about my family. I tore the envelope open slowly. Inside were copies of bank slips, emails, and signed statements. As I read, my throat tightened. The papers showed my uncle had taken family business money many times, hiding it with fake records. He had used relatives' names without their knowledge. There was also a letter. It explained why the new company registration was placed in my name alone. Whoever wrote it said I had the clean record and the clean heart that others did not. I swallowed hard, feeling both proud and scared of that trust. The last line of the letter said something I could not forget. Do not be weak. He relies on your silence. Those words cut deep because they were true. For years I had stayed quiet. I leaned back against the bench and closed my eyes. I finally understood why my uncle was desperate. Ownership in my name blocked his plans. It also opened a door to bring truth into light. The choice now sat in my hands. I could return everything and stay small, or I could stand firm and face every storm that would come. By evening, the storm had already started. My phone buzzed over and over as relatives called. Some asked if I had tricked everyone. Others said my uncle told them I stole the company from him. Lies were spreading like wildfire. It hurt that people believed him so fast. I wanted to shout that I had done nothing. Instead, I stayed quiet and listened. Behind the anger in their voices, I could hear fear. They depended on him. They were scared of change. I looked again at the papers showing his hidden debts and broken trust. Everything made sense now. He did not just care about pride. He was in trouble and losing control. I felt alone for a moment, but I reminded myself I was not the one lying. That gave me strength. I decided I would not attack him with cruel words. I would simply stop covering what he had done. I put every document in a folder and locked in my drawer. My hands still shook, but my mind was clearer. If he wanted to fight for control, he would find that I was no longer the quiet, scared kid he used to push around. I met my friend Mia at a small cafe the next day. She had always believed in me when others didn't. I showed her the documents. She read them slowly, her eyes widening. "This is serious," she said. We opened her laptop and searched public financial records. Within an hour, we found more. My uncle had unpaid loans, secret accounts, and strange transfers to someone named Parker Reed. My stomach knotted tighter with each line we read. The picture was growing clearer. "He planned something big," Mia said. "Then someone stopped him and used your name to block him legally." I nodded. It seemed right. It also meant I was now in the middle of his unfinished plan. I felt anger at how he had called me irresponsible while he was the one tearing things down in secret. I also felt sad that family could do this to family. But sadness did not control me anymore. We printed what we found and added it to my folder. The more truth I held, the steadier I felt. I knew he would never admit it on his own. So the truth itself will become my strongest answer to him. That night my uncle called and invited me to dinner. His voice sounded strangely gentle. I knew it was not real, but I went anyway. The restaurant was quiet, almost empty. He smiled too much when I sat down. He said he had been too harsh at the family meeting. He said he only wanted what was best for me. Then he slid more transfer papers across the table. "Sign these, and this tension ends," he said. "You are not ready for that company." For a moment, the old doubt tried to come back. Then I remembered every piece of proof in my folder. I pushed the papers back and said, "No." His smile vanished. He leaned forward and whispered, "Then I will tell everyone what you have done." I looked straight at him and said quietly, "I already know what you've done." He froze. Color drained from his face. We sat in silence for a few seconds. For the first time, he did not look like the strong uncle who controlled everything. He looked cornered. He stood up and left without finishing his meal. I watched him walk away and understood that the real battle had just begun. The next days were filled with tension inside the family. Some cousins avoided me. Others suddenly wanted to talk. Secrets were floating everywhere. At another gathering, voices rose fast. My uncle tried to speak over everyone, but people now questioned him. I stood up and said calmly that I planned to run the new company in a clean way. I did not shout. I did not insult anyone. I simply stated that lies were over. Some relatives looked shocked. Aunt Denise shook her head in anger. Uncle Harold glared at me like I had betrayed him, but I had not betrayed anyone. I had only stopped letting him control me. That difference mattered to me even if it did not matter to him. The room buzzed with whispers after I finished. Lines were drawn that night. Some stood with him, some with me, and some simply watched, waiting to see who would fall. As I left the house, I understood something important. My revenge was not loud. It was steady. I was not trying to hurt him. I was simply refusing to help him hurt others anymore. That alone was powerful. The next twist came at the bank. I went there to view the company accounts. The woman at the desk typed for a while, then frowned. "The balance is nearly empty," she said. My heart sank. The company in my name had no money left. I asked for transaction records. They showed large withdrawals days before the registration was finalized. The money had been moved to another account not under the company name. I knew exactly who had done it, but one detail surprised me. The transfers ended with the name Parker Reed again. So the mystery person was more than a line on paper. He was connected to everything. I left the bank upset, but not broken. My uncle thought an empty account would force me to sign the business away. He still believed I would panic. Instead, I felt more focused. The problem was bigger now. Yes, but it also revealed more truth. Whoever Parker was, he was involved in my uncle's hidden world. And if I found him, I would find the missing pieces my uncle still tried to hide from everyone else. I finally met Parker Reed in a small office building across town. He looked calm, but his eyes were sharp. He already knew my name. "So you are the surprise owner," he said. I nodded and told him I knew he had worked with my uncle. He sighed and said my uncle had promised him profits from the new company. Then my name appeared on the registration and everything changed. He admitted my uncle had planned to move assets, declare loss, and walk away clean. Parker had lost money because of it. He offered me funding to restart the company if I gave him a huge share. It was tempting for a moment. The company was empty and I had little experience. But something inside me warned me not to hand away control again. I told him I would think about it and left. Outside the building, I leaned against the wall. The wind blew hard, but my mind felt even stronger. I realized everyone around my uncle expected to use me or silence me. Instead, I would rebuild on my own terms. That choice was my strongest answer to them all. I spent days visiting every company property listed under the registration. Most were useless offices or leased spaces. But then I found an old warehouse at the edge of town. Dust covered the windows. Grass grew through cracks in the pavement. Inside, sunlight cut through broken panels in the roof. There were unused machines, tools, and crates still wrapped. It was clear my uncle had once planned something here, but gave up or hid it. I walked through the place slowly, touching cold metal and imagining what it could become. For the first time since the meeting, I felt hope, not just anger or confusion. The warehouse was worn out, but not dead. Just like me, I made notes, took pictures, and planned how to restart honestly with small steps. No tricks, no fake loans, real work. That thought made me smile a little. I also knew my uncle would hate seeing the company live without him. That was not cruel revenge. It was fair. It showed that all his insults were wrong. I left the warehouse with dust on my shoes and a quiet fire in my chest, ready for whatever came next. My cousin Blake came to my house one evening looking nervous. He closed the door and said he needed to talk. He admitted my uncle had made him help fake numbers in past reports. He had even told him to pressure me at times so I would give up ideas. Blake's voice shook as he apologized. He said he could not carry the guilt anymore. Then he told me something even bigger. The mysterious letters and instructions had come from my late grandfather's legal advisor. My grandfather had not trusted my uncle with the future of the family business. Hearing that hit me hard. My grandfather had seen something in me back then that I had never seen in myself. I felt tears in my eyes, but I held them back. Blake handed me another document, a copy of a missing will page. It hinted that I had been meant to lead one day, not my uncle. He said he could get the rest soon. When he left, I sat alone in silence. My anger was still there, but now it was mixed with purpose. This was bigger than pride. This was about restoring what my grandfather had wanted. A few days later, the advisor sent me the full missing page of the will. It clearly said my grandfather believed I had honesty, patience, and heart and wanted to guide the next family business. My uncle had hidden this because it blocked his plans. Reading my grandfather's words felt like he was still speaking to me. My chest hurt and warmed at the same time. All those years of being called weak and careless were lies built to bury this truth. I realized that my revenge was not about bringing my uncle down. It was about lifting back up what he had buried, including my own worth. That changed how I saw everything. I put the will copy beside the fraud papers. Together, they told the whole story. A greedy uncle, a hidden successor, a planned protection through company registration. I knew the next step had to be careful. If I moved too fast, he would try to destroy evidence. If I waited too long, he would hurt more people financially. I decided I would face him not with yelling, but with proof that could not be ignored anymore. Tension exploded at the next family gathering. Voices rose, and people argued about money, control, and loyalty. My uncle tried to shout everyone down like always. This time it did not work. Someone confronted him with questions about missing funds. He lost his temper and yelled that he had done what he had to do to keep control. He did not realize someone was recording with their phone. He admitted enough that anyone listening could understand the truth. I watched in silence. It did not feel good to see him fall apart. It felt sad but also fair. He had built his power by breaking others down. Now his own words were pulling that power away. He saw me standing there and glared like I was the reason everything was crumbling. But deep inside, I knew the truth. He had done this to himself. People began to step back from him, confused and hurt. For the first time, he stood in a room and did not control it. I left quietly, knowing that recording would not stay private for long. The next twist was already on its way. Within 2 days, the video spread online around town. People messaged me nonstop. Some apologized for doubting me. Others asked what would happen next. My uncle's reputation broke faster than I expected. Clients called to cancel deals. Partners walked away. He tried to blame me, saying I had turned the family against him. But most people had seen and heard his own words. They finally understood what he really was doing. I did not attack him online. I stayed silent and worked. That silence spoke louder than any angry post. I focused on the company, the warehouse, and people who wanted honest jobs. My heart still hurt because he was family. Revenge did not feel like joy. It felt like standing still while the truth did what it always does if you stop hiding it. At night, I sat at my desk and made plans for rebuilding. My goal was not to ruin him. My goal was to make something good out of what he tried to twist. That was my answer to every insult he had thrown at me. With help from my attorney, I filed to freeze assets tied to the fraudulent transfers. It was not about punishment. It was about stopping more damage. The court agreed. My uncle was shocked when he learned he could not move money anymore. He called me furious. He shouted that I had destroyed him. I stayed calm and said I had only protected what was not his to take. There was a long silence after that. Then he hung up. I sat there feeling strangely tired. Revenge did not feel like fire anymore. It felt like holding a heavy door closed so others would not get hurt. But I also felt stronger than I had ever felt in my life. People who once ignored me now asked for meetings about the company's future. I listened, took notes, and stayed focused on fairness. I refused deals that felt like traps. The boy my uncle called irresponsible was gone. In his place stood someone who could face storms without running. I did not need to shout that at him. My actions said it every single day. Parker Reed came back into the picture, angrier this time. He asked me to pay him or give him part of the company. When I refused, he threatened to say in court that I had helped my uncle all along. For a moment, I felt fear again. Then I remembered the messages we had printed earlier, showing his role in the plan. I calmly showed them to him in a meeting. His face went pale. He realized that if he lied, he would only hurt himself more. He backed down fast and said he just wanted out of the mess. I agreed to nothing more than honesty. He left the room without shaking my hand. After he left, I felt a long breath escape me. Another danger had passed, not through anger but through proof and calm strength. Each step of this journey was changing me. I was no longer reacting to my uncle's power. I was building my own life forward. That felt like the truest form of revenge possible, living free from the limits he tried to put on me. I gathered a small group of workers my uncle had pushed aside years ago. We met inside the dusty warehouse. I shared my plan to rebuild honestly, slowly, and with fair pay. They listened carefully. Some smiled for the first time in a while. We cleaned together, moved old crates, and repaired broken lights. The place started to look alive again. I created a simple business model using equipment already there, so we would not need huge loans. Word spread that the company under my name was starting fresh. Not grand, not fake, just real. More people wanted to join. For the first time, I felt proud instead of scared when people said my name. I thought about my grandfather and hoped he would have liked what he saw. I also thought about my uncle and wished he had chosen honesty instead of control. Each day we worked. The past lost a little more power over me. My revenge was now clear in my mind. It was not about watching him fall. It was about rising in a way he said I never could. One evening, my uncle showed up at the warehouse. He looked older, tired, and smaller than before. There was no anger in his voice this time. He asked if we could talk alone. We stepped outside into the cool air. He said he had been scared of losing control his whole life. He said he pushed me down because he saw me as a threat, even when I was young. Hearing that hurt, but it also explained many years of pain. He asked if I could give him a role in the company so he would not disappear. I looked at him for a long moment. I remembered every insult, every lie, every time he broke trust. I told him no, but I also told him I did not hate him. I wanted him to get help, face the law honestly, and rebuild his life the right way. He nodded with tears in his eyes, but said nothing more. He walked away slowly. I felt heavy and light at the same time. My revenge had reached its deepest place. It was firm but not cruel. The fool was finally recovered and read officially. The room was quiet as the lawyer read my grandfather's words. My name was clearly written as the person he wished to guide the family's future business. My uncle's face fell as the truth stood before everyone. Nobody shouted. There was no need. The years of lies were simply gone. People looked at me not with doubt anymore, but with respect and maybe a little surprise. I said only a few words. I promised honesty, fairness, and transparency from that day on. I did not mention my uncle's wrongs. The documents already had. When the meeting ended, some relatives hugged me. Others stayed quiet, thinking about everything that had changed. I walked outside and took a deep breath. The sky looked wider than before. The boy who once stayed silent at family meetings was now the one people listened to, not because I forced them, but because truth had cleared the path. Opening day of the revived company arrived. Sunlight filled the clean warehouse. New signs hung on the walls. Workers chatted with hope in their voices. I stood at the entrance, holding the keys, my heart calm and steady. I remember that first family meeting where I was called irresponsible and laughed at. The pain was still there, but it no longer owned me. It had turned into fuel. I spoke to the team, simple words about hard work and honesty. They listened, nodding. This time, my voice did not shake. This was my place. Not because it was handed to me easily, but because I refused to give it away. Across the street, I noticed my uncle standing alone, watching quietly. There was no anger in his eyes, only regret and tiredness. I gave him a small nod, not of victory, but of closure. Then I turned the lights on and stepped inside. My journey had begun in humiliation and doubt, but it ended in quiet strength. My revenge was not loud or cruel. It was this moment, living the life he said I could never lead, with my name standing where he tried to erase it.